Hi, my name is Thomas and you're watching Casual DIY channel. In today's episode I will be looking again at reviewing my Mitre saw from Evolution. Check out my thoughts on it. So let's flip it over and check out the saw. As you can see, I've got this nifty jig on top of my Mitre, so if you want to check out some details about this bad boy, then I'll link it up above and obviously down below in the description. Go and check it out because it's definitely worth making for any Mitre saws. So have a look. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to take it off and we'll talk about this saw. Okay, so a couple of features about this machine. Obviously, the name suggests it comes with a blade 255mm. It actually also comes with a few other tricks up its sleeve, if you want to call it that, although they are definitely not perfect. So it also comes with a laser. But as you see, it's actually very faint. It's difficult to see. And you probably got to straight have the question for me, but is it accurate? When I initially set it up, it worked fairly well, but after, I don't know, 2 dozens of cuts, the mounting of the laser became a little bit loose and obviously it's not accurate anymore. So I have realigned the laser and exactly the same happened. Obviously you can probably use something to secure the screw so it actually doesn't move, but I gave up in the end. For me, lasers are a bit of a gimmick. If they're really good, then yeah, of course, by all use it. Probably the Festool ones are quite good. You can see both sides of the blade and that's going to be probably quite accurate. Whereas saws like this, I think it's just a pointless gimmick that's unnecessarily takes the price of this tool a little bit higher. But let's talk about the price. It's actually a fairly cheap saw. You can pick it up for about 160 British pounds on Amazon, and I believe there are plenty of online stores that do actually deals on these tools, and even on Amazon there are deals for these tools quite often, so you can pick it up really cheap. Another feature that this saw comes with is actually a depth stop. So when it comes to this feature, I am actually very happy with it. It works fine. I had no issues with it. But one thing that you have to bear in mind, if you put way too much pressure on this, you may get a bit of a bounce on it. But if you put it down, keep it stable and run the saw, there won't be any issues. If you're going to put too much pressure each time you do it, then you may end up in different depths of cut by probably a fraction of a millimeter, but obviously that is noticeable. But the next question I want to answer, the one that you're actually probably waiting for, is this saw accurate? When you set it up, it is. So out of the box, there is an initial, obviously you have to put it together and then you have to set it up correctly. And to do that, it's not actually a big deal. It does come with a good setup, good alignments. It's actually designed in a way that it's ever so easy to set this saw correctly. And as you can see, I've got it on a flip-top table, so it goes up and down. And periodically I do check if it's square, if there's no issues, and there isn't. So from that perspective, I'm actually pleased with it. But initially, yes, I did have to check it. I did have to actually make some amendments for this saw to cut straight and true. Now, one thing that really there's two things that actually bother me about this machine. The first bit is the insert plate here. It's absolutely massive. The hole between the plastic size is humongous, so cutting small pieces on this is absolutely impossible. Hence, I've built that jig that you've seen at the start of the video, and I do recommend you make one yourself, because it's definitely a game changer for using a mitre saw and having really dialed accurate cuts on small pieces. But I digress. So yes, it's absolutely pants. It's good for larger pieces of wood, boards or lumber, anything else, it's fine. Anything smaller is absolutely terrible, and the orange plastic actually flexes a lot as well, so that's definitely not great. I wanted to make a zero clearance plate, but in the end I decided to actually make the jig, so I don't have a need for that. Now obviously you can make bevel cuts, you can make mitre cuts, and there's no issues with it. Obviously each time you change the angle, make sure to lock the knob at the front, because otherwise it may actually shift a little bit. And with that, there's no issues. If you want to cut mitre or bevel cuts, it's fine. You have to obviously check it. I would not depend on the scales on this machine. Just use your own measuring equipment to make sure you've got the angles that you actually need. Another thing you have to consider before buying this machine, it's actually absolutely massive. It's really big. So in this position, the saw from the back to the front of the machine is nearly 90 centimeters. It's about 89 centimeters. So it's absolutely humongous and takes so much space. So definitely consider that if space is an issue for you. Other than that, obviously you can lock the saw in place, then lock over here, and you've got a nice portable mitre, so you can take it to a job site and it will do a very good job. For very accurate work, if you don't have a jig, you're not gonna get far. But with the jig I've made, and obviously after the initial setup, it will do just fine. But you have to consider that you're probably only going to be able to use the Evolution blades, which sometimes it's not the best, and they don't give the best quality of cuts. For general woodworking needs or DIY needs, this will be absolutely fine. But if you're thinking about cabinet making, I would recommend you upgrade to something better than this. This saw also comes with a clamp, which I'm not going to show you because it broke on me. So that's a little bit disappointing there. But other than that, the motor, the saw itself, it actually has never failed me. It runs fine. It's got plenty of power to actually go through anything I put through. Even large blocks of walnut or oak or anything else, it just goes through with no hassle at all, which is always good. And the last thing I want to mention for this saw, and I think it goes for most of the mitre saws, the dust collection on it is pants. It absolutely is, and there's no lying about it. It's not a secret at all. It's very difficult to actually get a very good dust extractions of those. Even with the shop vac connected, it still generates a nice big cloud of dust. So I've got a few designs in my head to actually improve the dust collection on that. Probably not going to be perfect. I've seen few options on the internet as well, so I'll probably marry few ideas together and see how it goes. But obviously that will come to my channel as well, so you'll be able to see if it works and if it was worth doing. Right then guys, so that's my thoughts on this machine. Obviously I've been using it for a while now, and there's no major issues. It's just more or less when you work with it more, you see the downgrades or the downsides of this tool. But from another side, you have to consider it's only 150 quid saw, so I wouldn't expect too much of it. It all depends on you. If you need a solid DIYer's mitre saw, I think it's a fairly good choice. There's not really many issues with it. It cuts lumber. So am I happy with it? Yeah, I'm happy. For my needs, it's absolutely fine, absolutely perfect. My dream mitre saw would probably, I don't know actually the name of it, it's the one from Bosch with the folding arm. It looks really good. So that's one of the saws I would actually want to give it a go, and the reason for it, it takes a lot less space because of the folding arm. You don't have those rails behind it, so it would be actually quite interesting to see how that performs. Maybe one day when I win the lottery I'll get one. But that's my thoughts about this machine. If you want to check out how this bench was made with the flip top, I've got a whole playlist about how I managed to transform my workshop to what it is now. It should be located just over here, so go and click on it, have a look at my other projects around the workshop. Maybe you'll get some cool ideas or inspirations. But for now, that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on my next woodworking adventure. See ya!